I'm Eileen Nash. Join me every week as we meet interesting people who will teach you new, creative ways to manage stress and embrace vitality in your life. Grab a cup of tea and join me for this adventure. Today you'll meet Jennifer Mantle and learn about a spiritual art practice called Soul Collage. Jennifer will also demonstrate a Japanese healing technique called Reiki. Thank you, Jennifer. Today we're here with Jennifer Mantle, who is a trained Reiki master, and she is also a trained Soul Collage facilitator. She's been giving spiritual workshops for 25 years. She is an ordained minister, she's an activist, and a sign language interpreter. She's an incredibly powerful facilitator, and I'm glad to let you meet her today. So welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you so much, Eileen. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah. So today I'd like to talk about Soul Collage. And so can you describe this process and how people can access it?
Sure. Soul Collage is a spiritual art practice, I like to say. It was created by Sina Frost, who just recently passed away. She's been a local to the Bay Area for many, many years. And Soul Collage is a process of opening up to your inner world using collage. So we create typically 5x8 collage cards that represent pieces of our inner selves. We have a few different suits that we work with to help us really explore all the different parts of who we are in the world and within ourselves. It's a very powerful, easy practice. Anybody can do it. I've had an 18-month-old Soul Collage with me and my 99-year-old grandmother Soul Collages with me. So I like to say if you can cut and paste and are looking for a little fun introspection, you can do Soul Collage.
Oh, that's great. So can you tell us how people can access their intuition or whatever to choose the images?
I always like to invite people to start by getting present to wherever you are. If you're with a group of friends and like-minded individuals, or if you're practicing alone, I like to invite us to really send that inner critic voice out for a cup of tea. I say, give her a big floppy hat and say, thank you for getting me here safely today. Thank you for whatever, helping me file my taxes. But right now, I'm using my creative mind and my creative self. And then I encourage you to just look through images. You can use old magazines, calendars. If you do want to reproduce your cards, I encourage you to use copyright-free imagery, which you can find a lot of that online these days, and print it out yourself and use it. If you're not going to reproduce your cards, that's less of an issue. So you can use old greeting cards and magazines and calendars and your own art. And I love to look through images and just make a pile of anything that resonates for me. And I always say you can just return it to the bin later if you decide you don't want any of that imagery. And after you have a significant number of images, whatever feels right to you, whether it be 5 faces, whether they be animal or human faces, and some things that seem like backgrounds and a few other miscellaneous items, then go to your space wherever you're working and start looking through them and seeing which face. Typically a face is a great place to start because we see ourselves reflected in other faces, whether they be animal or human. And see which one is really tugging on you the strongest. Typically there'll be 1 or 2 that are really, I like to say, working you. So choose that and then ask it what it needs to be complete. So typically I would then remove, let's say I'm working with, a gorilla on a green background in the forest. I would remove the gorilla from its background and then find another background that seems to work with it, because mixing up the images somehow provides new information. It makes it a different product rather than that particular photographer's image of the gorilla in the forest, right? And to continue to work with the images until they seem to align themselves how they need to be aligned. And it's really our job at that point to listen to the images, because they will you will typically get some sort of intuitive hit about, yes, this is, oh wow, this really needs to go here, or even, this is really disturbing. Sometimes that thing that's disturbing or feels uncomfortable has a lot of healing and magic for us there. And that's very powerful and valuable for us too. So glue your cards down. You can use mat board.
I was just going to ask, because these are some of my cards, and does this come in a kit, or
yes,
do you have to use a kit?
You can absolutely use anything you like. I've seen people use cut up cardboard from cardboard boxes that you have in your recycling bin. You can use just about anything you want, but if you would like pre-cut mat board, you can buy packages of 5x8 pre-cut mat board at soulcollage.com, and it's very easy to do it that way. I love that for that reason. Cutting mat board doesn't seem like a fun thing for me, but if it does for you, go for it. And the reason that they're that size versus maybe like a larger size, like a vision board, is each card that we make is intended to represent a single voice, a single piece of our inner selves. Now, I'm a collage artist and have been for a long time. I love vision boards. And a vision board really is, or some people call them treasure maps or other terms that you may have heard. Those are really more about like everything you're attracting to yourself in the new year or something like that. Whereas our Soul Collage cards are have a different intention. After you've made a few cards, even 2 cards, you can turn them over. We keep the backs blank, as you'll have noticed on Eileen's cards, the backs are blank. You can turn them over, shuffle, and actually ask yourself a question, get a reading from your own cards. You can access your own wisdom using your Soul Collage cards.
That's amazing. I actually haven't used them that way, but I'm going to be trying that. So today Jennifer's going to lead us on a meditation, and then we're going to make a chakra card. So can you explain a little bit about that and which chakra we're going to work with?
Certainly. As I mentioned, there are a number of suits in Soul Collage. One of them is called the companion suit, and that suit accesses the wisdom of the chakras, envisioning that an animal ally or being, but typically an animal, inhabits each chakra. So we thought we would take you on a brief guided journey to the root chakra, which is the first chakra, and that's at the base of the spine. Its color is red. And that chakra has to do with our sense of inhabiting space, taking up space on the earth. It's also about food and nurture and security, home, sense of place. And I invite you, as we go on this guided meditation, to really let whatever happens be okay. If you don't see anything, that's okay. Maybe you'll visit another time, or maybe you'll access the information in another way. Maybe you'll just intuitively know what animal lives at your root chakra. All of those things are equally valid. And for those of you who would like to take the guided meditation with us, I invite you to put your feet flat on the floor if that works for you. I like to kind of rub my arms just to kind of release anything that needs to be released, to help me get here, to help me get to this place and where my body is right now in this space and this moment. I like to breathe, really expanding my belly. And as we breathe together, I'd like you to imagine that you're walking down a path on a cool, lovely day in a forest. Imagine that it smells fresh and delicious in this wonderful forest. And you can see lush greenery around you. Beautiful trees and ferns growing and thriving. And as you walk a bit further down this path, you come to a part of a stream that's a little bit still, and somehow it's crystal clear. And gaze into this little small body of water in this magical forest. And see in the water your own self reflected there. And notice that not only do you see your physical self, but you see your energy body, where your chakras live. And see in that reflection of you each chakra alive and spinning with its beautiful bright colors. And now allow the root chakra at the base of the spine to become a bit brighter. It's red and vibrant and juicy, and it invites you to bring your awareness into that chakra. Move into that red spinning chakra space. Look around. Feel around. Do you smell anything? Is there a sound? A temperature? Use all your senses to experience this root chakra. Now invite the animal ally who lives there to make itself known to you. You might smell it, or feel it, or see it, or even hear it. If there are several animals, invite them, allow them to be present, and ask the one who belongs there the most, who has the most messages and healing for you, to make itself apparent. And if it will let you gaze into its eyes, experience what message it may have for you. And now allow yourself to become one with this animal, to blend into it, to merge into it. Feel what that feels like in your body for a moment. If it runs, run. If it flies, fly. If it crawls, crawl. Be with it. And when you're complete with that, return back to your imaginal body, your energy body. Look into your animal's eyes again, or look at it, and ask it what message it has for you. Ask it what it needs from you. And ask, how will I remember? And allow whatever comes up to be okay. And when you're complete with that, give thanks to this animal, this wonderful being that's supporting and protecting your root chakra. Promise to make a soul collage card to honor it. And know that you can return here to visit anytime. And begin to return to your physical body. Give thanks. Turn around and walk away from the stream, back up the path. Feel into this human body. Move your toes, your fingers. Maybe move your shoulders. And when you're ready, open your eyes and be back here with us.
We have selected our images, and in my during the meditation, the animal that came to me was a cougar, and the answer to the question of what he had for me was courage, and what the question to what does he want me to do is to be myself out in the world, be my best self out in the world. And what was the third?
How will I remember?
Oh, well, Actually, I have a painting that reminds me, this actually connects to an old vision that I did when I was in Color of Woman trainings. It was very powerful for me. And I look at that painting every day. But now I'm going to have a Soul Collage card. So tell us a little bit, Jennifer, about how a person, you've gotten your images together. How would someone place it on a card?
Well, I always like to start by cutting out the main face that I'm working with. I have a sort of a dog and a fox here. And then I cut them out from whatever background they came on. Then I look for backgrounds that just feel like they fit. So I frequently use landscapes, images of nature, but really you could use just about anything that feels like it is background image for you. I arrange those I might try a few different backgrounds and see which one is the one that resonates. And I may or may not have any logical thought in my mind at all while I'm doing this. It's as intuitive as you feel comfortable being, and maybe just push yourself a little farther than your actual comfort zone. I love to encourage that. It's amazing how this process can really open up a lot for us. So once I have my background images and my animal or face, I kind of just move them around on my card and started gluing already, so that's what that noise is. Just kind of see how they want to align, and I encourage you to allow the images to align how they would like. So I might need both of these little dog fox faces, or I might only need I need this fox. Apparently seems like my intuition is saying I need this fox to kind of have a halo glow around him up on the top. So this little dog, I think I'm just going to have a part of his face showing down at the bottom, and they're on a landscape background. And once I have my images all glued down, then I will engage the card and actually speak from the card, versus many art practices we say, well, I drew this because, or I put this here because. And in Soul Collage, one of the things that makes it so deeply powerful and transformative, in my experience, is that we personify the card. So I'll actually speak as this little fox and receive its wisdom, which of course is my wisdom, but through this process it's mirrored to us through this collage, and that is really the meat and the heart of this practice.
Thank you so much. Now, one of the things that came up for me is this is an important image of these pants. They're red pants, but I don't want that to be on top, but I still need that little reminder. And so I put it on there, but I'm covering it up. So I know it's there, but that's not my main image to work with. And I'm just going to cut a little bit more. And
I also forgot to say before, you can certainly use your cards, the white side, the blue side, or if you have other cards made from another material at different colors, you're welcome to use them vertically, horizontally, whatever works for you. We do encourage in the practice that you avoid the use of words and very distinct symbols, primarily because those tend to have very fixed connotations in our minds, whereas images are called the language of the soul. True. So our souls speak to us in imagery, and if we keep our cards mostly focused on imagery without words and symbols, the cards can shift in meaning over the years and over the time that you work with them and have them in your deck. And I also encourage you to keep the backs of your cards blank for that reason that I mentioned before, where you can shuffle your cards as soon as you have just a few and ask yourself a question and receive an answer. And if you have things on the back of your cards, it just makes that a little harder. What I like to do with every completed card is to sketch it very roughly. I don't consider myself a particularly good drawer or sketcher, and I just make a very rough sketch. It's almost just like an outline. It's sometimes an inch big in a journal. I have a journal dedicated to Soul Collage, and I sketch the card. That in itself, that process in itself gives me new information. And then I write next to the very rough sketch, I write what the answers are to the journal prompts. The first being, I am the one who, and that's where we answer as the image in the card.
Oh, that's a very powerful question. I love that practice. It's a real deepening.
It really is. One of my fellow Soul Collage facilitators says making cards and not reading from them is like cooking a meal and not eating it.
And not eating it. Well, that's not going to happen.
The other thing that's so great about having just even a really rough sketch in my journal is that later when I want to go back and look at my cards, I don't have to move back to my logical mind. I can really stay in my image, the part of my mind that thinks in pictures and imagery to locate whatever that card may have said before, or to see what date that card came up. Like maybe if I draw a card every day for a while, which I did at one point, maybe I get this one card every new moon, or something like that. Interesting synchronicities like that definitely occur.
Well, when I ask my card, or however we do it, we say, I'm the one who, and this card says, I'm the one who has courage. So I think that making the card, it actually sort of cemented or made more real the message that I got during the vision. So we're inviting you to just give this a try, playing with images, and see what comes up for you. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Eileen, and blessings on your journey.
We're going to talk about Reiki. It's a healing technique, and Jennifer is a Reiki master. She's been doing this as a master for about 5 years. So tell us about your Reiki journey and about Reiki.
Well, Reiki is a Japanese technique for stress reduction and relaxation that also promotes healing. And it is done either with the hands of the practitioner on the person's body or off the body, and can also be done across great distance. So it's a pretty versatile and effective tool. Many people experience very amazing healings and visions and things, and other people feel nothing, and either way it still is effective and working.
So what's the background of this healing technique?
It was brought to the world, I guess you could say, by Usui Sensei in Japan in the 1920s. He was a spiritual seeker looking for enlightenment, and he climbed to the top of Mount Kuruma in Japan and was fasting and seeking this enlightenment, and eventually he felt Reiki enter his body. He came running down the mountain, which is covered in very giant tree roots, stumbled across a tree root, fell, and as one does, put his hand on his stubbed toe and found that in fact he had healing energy in his hand that he hadn't had before. He called it the Usui Sensei Reiki Ryoho, which means Usui Sensei style of healing. And it was eventually brought to the West and has a long and complicated history, you could say, but what is true throughout all of its many lives and variations is that it's a Japanese technique and it promotes wonderful healing experiences for people.
Thank you for giving us that background. And Jennifer was just telling me that it's gaining widespread use in hospitals.
Yes, I don't personally have experience giving or receiving Reiki in hospitals because surprisingly in my hometown of San Francisco, our local hospital does not have a Reiki program. I was very sad to discover, at least not yet. But many hospitals around the country do. I believe it's in the 70 or more hospitals have Reiki practices going in the hospitals as part of the standard of care for patients. And they're finding that it reduces recovery time, it helps with pain management, and a wide variety of other uses. There's a great website you can look at to find if your hospital is included, or that website also has information on beginning a Reiki practice in a hospital. And you can find that through reikiresearch.org.
That would be great. And they can find out different research about this method.
There's lots of clinical studies happening to help the Western medical establishment acknowledge the healing potential of this modality.
It's very important for people to be open to healing and not just be dependent, this is my personal view, on outside people and having a medicine fix. Sometimes that's absolutely necessary, but there are other times where you can get to the root of why things are happening, and there's healing. And while there aren't ways to measure this, it is my opinion that that doesn't make it not true.
My opinion is science just hasn't caught up with the ability to measure it yet, and that in fact there are certain types of measurement capabilities that are being discovered all the time that do quote unquote prove what many cultures and healers have known for thousands of years, for many years.
Well, thank you. Can you do a demonstration?
Sure. So with us here in person,
That would be great.
May I put my hands on you, or would you
Yes,
like
you
hands
can.
off? Okay. So I always just start, obviously, by asking permission. I think that's very significant in our work to make sure that we have consent, very explicit consent. And then I start by asking Reiki to come, and Reiki has its own energy, its own intelligence. It actually means divinely guided life force energy. The end of the word ki is almost the same as the word chi, which you might be familiar with, and Rei means divinely guided. So I ask Reiki to come, and Reiki works by intention. So just by me asking, it's already here, it's already present and flowing through me. And then just gently find a spot that seems like it needs some Reiki. And you might feel warmth, you might not feel much of anything. I feel warmth in my hand, and sometimes, not usually while also talking, but sometimes I can also then see colors or see the next place on your body that I might like to give Reiki. And actually what's coming up for me is your heart chakra, so just give a little Reiki there. One of my teachers says, the deeper the breathing, the deeper the healing. So I invite you to take a few deep breaths too. How was that experience for you?
It's very calming.
Even though I was talking.
Yes. Well, thank you. I thought it was important for people to see that there's just a demonstration of how it can work.
And if you were to come to me for a session, I might ask you what specifically you'd like to work on, and that could be a physical pain or an emotional barrier, psychological situation, any of those things. A lot of people work with Reiki with past lives, and people incorporate crystals, sound healing, drumming can be used along with Reiki. Reiki is a complementary medicine as opposed to an alternative medicine, so it works in combination with Western medicine, with acupuncture, with just about anything you can think of. You can use Reiki in conjunction with essential oils, you name it.
That's great. Thank you, Jennifer, for introducing us to Reiki.
Thank you so much.
On the next episode of Restore Your Caring Soul, you'll meet Dominique Peters. She's a Color of Woman artist, a sex and relationship coach, and you will learn the bliss breath, the breath of arousal, and the yes breath. Join us then.